Welcome everyone, this is Jack Cepeda.
And this is Brandon Merriman.
This is the Lantern's first glance of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. We wanted to take a moment here and thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We're very grateful for the audience here watching the videos we've been producing and working really hard on. We want to thank everyone for all the compliments and all the comments and all the feedback here, good and bad. This will be the final video we are making for this semester. We're doing something a little special here. At the end of this video, when we finish talking about Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, Brandon and I are actually going to take a moment here each and recap and talk about 2014, the year in gaming, and what it meant to gaming. And we're also going to talk a little bit, ever so briefly, about some of our favorite games that came out. So look forward to that at the end. Brandon, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, one of my most anticipated titles in the last 2 years, just because I'm a fan of the franchise. But it's a game that's had anticipation for a lot of people just because these are games that come out with a lot of content. They usually come once in a generation, and they're multiplayer games, so they're ones that you can come back to for a long time and play with your friends.
When was the last one that came out? You said it was like once in generation. Is like
about 2007.
2007?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's 7 years ago.
So if you played a Smash Brothers game before, it's basically like a sport. You beat on other people until they get damaged enough, and then you try to launch them off the stage. This is the board game mode that comes with it, Smash Tour.
Okay.
And depending on what you're looking for, it might be really exciting or really, really dull, because there's a lot of randomization elements to it. This is something that you put on with your friends when you're like had a couple drinks maybe. I think you need a couple drinks to really digest this because it's so crazy. You don't get to pick your character or anything. You don't get to pick which power-ups you run and get unless you just run and grab them on the board. And then you get these random challenges that aren't even fights. So right here is something called Target Blast. This is like an Angry Birds mode in Super Smash Bros. You launch this bomb into targets and you have to explode and get the most points.
Something I can appreciate and definitely can get behind is how passionate and how intense the community is behind this game. People look forward to this game, like you said, once in a generation. They get the game and they play it nonstop. And so I have to totally admit to the audience here, I'm not one of these people. I am a fan of fighting games, certainly. I kind of identify more with Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Super Smash Bros. Was always one of those series that I just couldn't really wrap my head around. I couldn't fully understand, so that's why it's good to have you here.
Yeah, there's definitely a nostalgia factor when it comes to enjoying the game because you want to know who these characters are. With a lot of fighting games, it comes in and they all have their personalities and the story. Like, that's it. That's all there was to them.
Yeah, and to me, that's the biggest draw of Super Smash Bros. Is the roster of characters. That's really cool, though, that they go back and it doesn't have to necessarily be a Nintendo game, where they get the characters there. I think I also saw Mega Man, and coming from knowing where Sega and Nintendo's relationship was in the early 90s, seeing Sonic there, the Hedgehog, that is something that I could never imagine.
So that's fantastic. Then there's Pac-Man, of course. Pac-Man's kind of weird. Everybody thought that he would be a stupid character. He's like, oh, what does Pac-Man do? He chomps. But they actually did a pretty nice tribute to him in this. And as somebody, with nostalgia, it's nice to see that treated with respect. To the average person, it doesn't really mean anything, but I grew up playing these games. I mean, you grow up with anything, you're going to appreciate a new iteration, or you're going to have more of a response to it. And so this is just, it's meaningful to a lot of people because they might have grown up with playing a Nintendo game like I did. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention 8-player mode, which is something that they haven't had before.
Yeah, first for the series, because before it was just 4-player, right?
Yeah, but now because it's just a new console and it's really powerful, they can support 8 players. They could probably support 16 players, like who knows?
Something we should note as well, that Nintendo will actually enable almost any controller method to play this game. You can use a Wiimote that you had for your old Wii console. You can use the gamepad. You can use the Pro controller. You can use a 3DS. Believe it or not, this might be the first game ever for the console that's actually allowing control through the 3DS wirelessly. So that's interesting and unique. Also, something big here about Super Smash Bros. For Wii U is that they released an adapter to allow you to actually hook up old GameCube controllers that I understand is pretty significant for people that are familiar with this game. I guess the GameCube controller is kind of the preferred method to play. Is that right?
Yeah, if we're talking about Smash Brothers, a game that's very nostalgic, people like to use that control method that they grew up using, playing the old games in the series. It came with a GameCube controller, which, I mean, they haven't made new GameCube controllers since the GameCube came out.
And they actually released and manufactured new GameCube controllers, right?
Yeah, and that's something that's unprecedented with a video game console. I mean, they're trying to get their money, too. They're like, hey, look, you can buy this old thing. But at the same time, I wanted to buy one. I didn't get my hands on one because they're totally sold out.
I would think is that the people that really want to play with GameCube controllers, this new game, they probably have some GameCube controllers laying around the house.
Yeah, so that's the point. It's really easy to get 8 people together, get 8 controllers together, and just have some mayhem at home.
One thing I have to say, and this is across all the Wii U games, is that it is so awesome for me, who grew up playing Nintendo, to see these games and see these characters realized in full resolution HD.
That's the affordance of the modern era. This is a game that started out on the Nintendo 64 back in the 90s. And so to see that a game like this that was so simple in its beginning actually can really take advantage of the affordances of a new console and take advantage of the power. A lot of games, they don't do that. They just increase the graphics and such, and there's not a lot that they can really do with that. But yeah, they were really thinking, what can we do with all this extra real estate that we've got on the screen? And they put a lot of detail into the characters and the models. They want to make them true.
So we'll see if this game can rescue the Wii U. Personally, from my perspective, I'm a huge Nintendo fan. Everyone, let me just throw it out there. I'm just a fan of games, but I have a certain level of nostalgia for Nintendo and its characters just because it's what I grew up playing. But I also have to be critical of the console itself and of the business failure that it has proven to be. And I would love to see more third-party support. I would love to see the system be successful and build a giant fan base and bring Nintendo back to the top of the console market in America specifically. So, it is going to be a high hill to climb here. PlayStation and Microsoft carved out their niche there, and they have a pretty firm hold. And we'll see, is Smash Brothers for Wii U the game that's going to turn that around? That's a pretty lofty goal. But one thing certainly is that it's going to be one of the most popular, if not the most popular game this year. Maybe behind Call of Duty. Yeah. Is that a fair comparison? I'll let you say.
Maybe. I mean, it's sold a ton. But, I mean, you talked about, like, the system failing. I mean, video game crashes have happened in the past, and they're going to happen again because it's such a weird medium and a weird business. It's not like everybody's always going to buy a game. A lot of games that come out that haven't been very good, and they still cost $60. Not everybody wants to make that investment. If the Wii U does fail, I won't be that surprised because it's a big investment of money right now when people don't have a lot of money. Like I said, I was anticipating this game for a long time. That's just my personal preference. But I think anybody who picks this up and plays it, I mean, if you've got friends, try it out. It's worth your time, especially if you're the type to get competitive.
Towards the end of the video here, we wanted to also just kind of recap 2014 and state what some of our standout titles were for each of us. 2014 kind of was the year of the bugs and of the launch gaffes for me. I cannot ignore the debacle that was Assassin's Creed Unity across every platform. I can also think about most recently, and probably most disappointingly for me, was to hear that Halo, the Master Chief Collection, is still, not playable in a solid state multiplayer wise. So yeah, that's really disappointing for me. And also just the year almost of the disappointers, the big promises. I hate to start this off on a down note, but I think about the game that was to be the Xbox One game to own, the killer app, the system seller, Titanfall, earlier this year. It was good, don't get me wrong. It was pretty fun for a couple weeks, and then it just dropped off the face of the earth. And no one talked about it. No one cared. It just kind of came and went. It went on sale. I think it was like $5 on Black Friday on Origin for a day, which is kind of telling there of how popular it was.
Yeah, it was $60 when it came out.
Yeah, I spent I think $100 on it because I got the season pass too. So lucky me.
Yeah, well, I mean that's your choice to make that.
Yeah, I'm an early adopter, and so I know what I'm getting into. Yeah. I'm not complaining, but
you voted with your dollar.
I did vote with my dollars, and yeah, my horse lost. So
yeah, we see so many sequels and takes on the same kind of format that I'm a little bit bothered by that. Like you said, the big flops and the big glitches that we've seen. But so the games that I bought this year, I bought Mario Kart 8, which was another Nintendo game that had a promise of quality, and it delivered on that. I bought Smash Brothers, which also had a promise of quality, and it delivered on that. Bayonetta, which we covered before.
All Nintendo games, all on Wii U. We're going to get accused of being Wii U.
Well, these are just the games that I'm buying with my money.
Yeah.
I mean, I've also played some PC games like The Wolf Among Us this year that I really enjoyed, but there's not a lot that I bought. I mostly played old games that I haven't had the time to get back to because nothing that came out this year really excited me that much besides the obvious Super Smash Brothers.
When I think about 2014, we talk about some of the bad games, and also I didn't even mention Destiny, and I'm just gonna leave that there. Okay, wow. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about Destiny. All right, when I think about 2014, definitely some of my favorite games this year that came out. Mario Kart 8 for Wii U. I totally agree with you. That game is amazing. It's absolutely worth purchasing a Wii U for. So much fun single player, so much fun multiplayer. They're releasing DLC for it, downloadable content to add to the value of the game. The graphics look great. The gameplay is awesome. They could allow you to upload your highlight videos to YouTube, which I think was a first for a Nintendo game as well. So that's something there. But I think Mario Kart 8, a second one, Far Cry 4, on any console, really. It is an amazing game. Far Cry 4 gave me everything I wanted, and so I'm having so much fun with that. It's a huge, long game, a giant open world, great graphics, great technical delivery, and so Far Cry 4 is another game I think was awesome. When I think about the third game, I have to say that I think Bayonetta 2 as well was one of my favorite games. Really blew me away. Really has something for everyone. If you just want to go in and smash on the buttons and see cool stuff happen, it's got that. If you want to break it down and really dig your teeth into the fighting mechanics of the game and really develop your combos and skill, then it has that as well. And so the graphics were awesome. Just what happens, and it just keeps one-upping itself every turn. You think that you've seen something crazy, and you think there's no way it can get any crazier than this, and then 5 minutes later, it just one-ups itself and continues over the course of the entire game. So definitely something else to check out. And so we just want to thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. This is, again, the last episode of First Glance for The Lantern. And again, my name, finally signing off for the year, is Jack Cepeda.
And this is Brandon Merriman.
And thank you guys so much again for a great year. We'll see you again. Take care. Have a happy holiday.